AAMSN, Tamil Nadu State Branch. It is my utmost pleasure to welcome you all to AARAICHI, our flagship initiative celebrating scientific curiosity and the relentless spirit of research. We are privileged to have with us our speaker, Dr. E. Sheshadri sir, Professor and Head of Pharmacology at Bharat Medical College. Dr. Sheshadri sir's distinguished career spanning pharmacology, diabetology, cardiology, and ethical review has been marked by a dedication to teaching, research, and upholding ethical standards. This present today is truly invaluable. This day's theme, General Ethical Principles in Research, is both timely and vital. As building foundation, as budding researchers, ethics goes beyond regulations. It is the building foundation that protects participants, ensures credible outcomes, and sustains public trust in science. A warm welcome to you, sir, and to each participant joining us. Let the session ignite thoughtful discussion and reinforce our collective commitment to ethical research. Thank you.
Thank you for your welcome, Vignesh. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. So I'm going to discuss the topic on the general ethical principles in research. Okay. So you all very well know, okay, I think that there might be many of the sessions regarding the research writing the protocol or informed consent or other document preparation or review of literature. So many things are involved in the research. So today, to make it very simple, what I am going to tell you is what all the things you have to follow. Ethically, you have to follow, okay, during the research or before the research or after the research. There are certain principles you have to follow but before starting the research and during the research and after the research. So that's what I am going to detail you, everybody, in next 20 minutes. Okay. So what is ethics? So ethics, it's derived from the Greek word ethos. Ethos means way of living. So what is the ethics status? It is a broader principle like the moral principles that governs the patient's behavior or the conduct of an activity. So ethics is generally the morals principles of a person. How do we behaves in the society? So what is meant by bioethics? So bioethics is a part of ethics, especially it focus on the ethical regulations or ethical issues pertaining to the life sciences, healthcare, and health and science policy. So bioethics is a part of ethics. Next is the medical ethics. Medical ethics, again, it's a part of bioethics. What does it medical ethics means? It primarily focus on the research related to the medical field. Okay, so that is medical ethics. So ethics is a broader term. So from ethics, we narrow it down to bioethics. From bioethics, we narrow it down to medical ethics. So today I am going to highlight the principles of, ethical principles we have to follow during the, medical research. Fine. So my question is very simple. Why do we need ethics in research? What this ethics is going to do while doing a research? To know this, we have to look back into the history, what has happened, so that only we can know why ethics is very much important. So it's all began in 1932 in USA. So what happened is they started a syphilis study. What they did is about around 400 Black Americans. These Black Americans were diagnosed as they are suffering from syphilis, but they have been not informed to them. These details has been not disclosed to the patients, and they have been not treated. They have been not given any medicines, to cure the disease. In spite of penicillin was available, and it has been proved that it would be effectively useful in treatment of syphilis. So why do they did this is they were observing the due course of syphilis. So what is going to happen to the patient suffering from syphilis if we are not going to treat them? So that too, without the awareness of the patient, they have been neglected from the treatment. So because of this, many of the patients suffering from syphilis died, and the disease transmitted to the family members and to the society, and it all ended up in 1972. If we move on to the next historical event, it was happened in 1939. That is a Nazi experiment during the World War II. What is this Nazi military army, which was in Germany? What they did is they did some study in the prisoners. In 1939 during the World War II, they did the study in the prisoners like attitude sickness or some twinning models or some disease observation. So all these things they did in the prisoners without the knowledge or without getting concern from them. And then in 1944, where the nuclear or the atomic energy began, where they did again radiation experiment on children's or patient attenders or hospitalized patients without their consent. And then in 1961, the thalidomide, the drug was promoted as a sedative and a drug of choice for morning sickness, especially patients who are in a pregnant woman. Okay. So what has happened is after the delivery, okay, they came to know this drug has caused teratogenicity among all the children born to the mothers, okay, who took thalidomide. So again, the study was the clinical study was not sufficient. Okay, without the sufficient data, they marketed this drug as an effective drug for treatment of hyperemesis gravidum or morning sickness. Okay, and then the Strovan trial, which was conducted by Pfizer in Nigeria, without the consent, okay, of the children's or from the parents of the children's, okay, they did the study trovafloxacin. What they did is they did this trovafloxacin study, okay, without the consent, where ceftriaxone was established drug in treatment of meningitis, but these children have been not given ceftriaxone. Okay, they were ignored by giving ceftriaxone and they were given trovafloxacin, and that too and a minimal dose. So that led to many of the deaths in the children's or mental retardation. So these all the histories and there are many to say related to this, but I'm just highlighting only the important historical event. There are many incidents happening pertaining to this, okay, like unethical policies followed during the research, okay. So these all lead to formation of newer guidelines or rules or regulations which has to be followed during doing a research, okay, in various countries. So if you look back into it, so the first regulation to be followed in a medical research is the Nuremberg Code, where it primarily encompasses on the informed consent, how it is important and we should get an informed consent. And then following the syphilis event, okay, they regulation like Kaffer-Harris Amendment, and then in 1964 they formed the Declaration of Helsinki, and then in 1974 they formed National Research Act. In 1979 there was a Belmont report from USA. In 1980 we had ICMR guidelines from India. In 1991 there is a common rule from USA, and it was a report on the high radiation exposure study in 1995, which was advised and reported by Mr. Bill Clinton. And then in 1996, ICA-GCP has been formed. That is the International Council of Organization of Good Clinical Practice, which was formulated by USA, European Union, and Japan. And then this bioethics, that is by UNESCO in 2005. And then in 2016, there was other regulation formed by the COMS and WHO. So whenever any mistakes takes place, okay, they formulated a regulation which has to be followed during a medical research. So we have so many set of ethical regulations, okay, depending upon each and every country, okay, what all the ethical regulations has to be followed while taking place in research. Okay, so we have to follow so many regulations pertaining to the country. Now they have made an initiative to make a global ethical standard. It is under the process. It is not yet released, okay, universally, but it is under the process. Might be it will be get released in 1 or 2 years, okay. Very soon we can be expect that is a global ethical standard which has to be followed during the, okay, medical research. So what comes here is these are history and guidelines. So each and everything is important, but I'm not going to highlight what all the ethical principles that each and every amendment or the regulations or the guidelines says. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to specifically, we are living in India, I'm going to teach you what all the ethical principles we have to follow, okay, during a research, which is given by our ICMR. So it was it was maybe begun in 1980, but the latest edition was from the 2017, and they added certain amendments to it in 2023 and 2025 to this ICMR guidelines. And one more thing, you need not worry about, okay, if I read ICMR, what about the Nuremberg Code? What about the Belmont report? What about the ICA-GCP? Almost 90 to 95% of the points, okay, it's overlaps among all the guidelines. Only 5 to 10% varies among the countries or the continents, okay, but majority of the points overlaps in all the guidelines what they give. So if you know the ICMR principle right now, it's more than sufficient, okay. So to go in depth into the detail, there are 12 ethical principles we have to follow during the research. Number 1 is essentiality. Next is the voluntariness, non-exploitation, social responsibility, privacy and confidentiality, risk minimization, professional competence, maximization of benefit, institutional arrangements, transparency and accountability, totality of responsibility, and environmental protection. So these are all the main ethical principles we have to follow, as I said previously, just before or during or after the research. We'll see one by one in detailly what does this states. Essentiality. Essentiality is nothing but very simple. Do we need this research? That's a very basic, simple question. When already there is a research data pertaining to your topic, then what is the purpose of doing the research again? That is very simple. Okay. So first you have to think, do you need this research? If so, you have to look for an alternative option other than human beings. Okay. If there is no alternative option, then you can, and there is no previous study like yours, or there is no sufficient data pertaining to your research topic, okay, then you can proceed the study after getting approval from the institutional ethics committee. Okay, that is the most important thing. You cannot proceed any study without the approval of the ethical committee. Okay, any study if you are planning, okay, it should be get approval from the ethical committee. That is the principle of essentiality. Next, principle of voluntariness. Okay, now the ethical committee has given you a permission to conduct the study, and you made it very clear that this study is very much essential. The next points comes here is the voluntariness. Suppose if you are going to involve a patients or a volunteers who are human beings who are maybe, okay, you should get the concern from them. You should explain your, okay, study about to them very clearly, and you have to get the concern from. Only after getting the concern, you should do a study or research on the patients, voluntarily advised patients. Okay. Without the consent, you are not allowed to perform any research on the persons. Okay. That's the most important point. One more thing is, okay, suppose they gave a concern and you initiated the study, but at the middle of the study, they want to discontinue from the study due to the personal reason. They doesn't like to participate in your study, and they should be freely allowed to exit from the study. You should not, okay, force them, or you should not compel them to be the part of the study till the study gets completed. You should give them full freedom. They can exit at any point of time. Okay. So that's the most important thing. Next, principle of non-exploitation. Here, see, the study participants you are recruiting for their research should be equally, they should be recruited. There should not be any variations among the recruitment of participants, okay, among the study. Suppose you will see, you may not recruit an, okay, and uneducated people or educated people. There should be no any differentiation. If you are going to do a study, the comparison of group should be equal. Okay, there should not be any discrimination between the groups, and you should be protect the vulnerable population very much. That is, vulnerable people means the children's or the pregnant individual, the physically challenged person, or all they come under vulnerable group. So that what there should be principle of non-exploitation. Next, social responsibility. Whenever I am going to do a research, this research should not disturb the social harmony or the community relationship. Okay. So whatever may be the result or the something, the data, whatever may be. So I am doing a study, okay, but it should not disturb the, okay, social harmony. That is the most important point. Okay. And then next is the privacy and confidentiality. You have recruited the participant and initiated the study. Okay. The study data should be kept confidential, and it should not be given access to all the person. And the identity of the participant and the personal record should be also kept confidential, but it is not applicable for all the time. But whenever there is an inquiry or the court order or some police information, okay, or suppose I am a member of the ethics committee, I gave approval for the study. I can audit your study at any time. I can come and visit your site surprisingly, and I can make and I can ask you to show the set of documents what you have collected. So you have to show it to me. You cannot deny that, okay, you don't have a permission, I should not show it to you. The access is restricted. It's not like that, okay? But it should not be assessed for the other person. So there are certain conditions where these data can be showed to certain person and it cannot be showed to certain other persons. Other thing is the principle of risk minimization. So always, whenever you are going to formulate a title, this point should come into a mind. Okay, risk minimization. Okay, so the benefit should be more, risk should be almost less. Okay, suppose the risk is more, the benefit is less. It is always to avoid those kind of study. And if you submit it to the ethical committee, they will not approve this kind of study. So you should always think in your mind, the benefit should be more, there should be no risk or only minimal risk in doing that or conducting the study. Professional competence, again, is the most important point. What they say, suppose you are the principal investigator of the study, you should be professionally competent enough to conduct the study. Okay, that's the most important point. You should be adequately trained, or you should be having an adequate qualification, or you should be having an adequate experience in the research on performing this study. So that's a principle of professional competence. Next is the principle of maximization of benefit. So either it's an indirect benefit or a direct benefit. As I said previously, risk versus benefit, the risk should be low or no risk. Benefit should be more. The same point is repeating again here. There should be a maximum benefit, okay, with the study, either for the society or the patients or for the participants who are involved in the study. So it should be like that. So the study should be making an maximum benefit. That's an important thing. Next comes to the principle of institutional arrangement. Suppose I am involved in an organization and I am doing this study under this organization. The organization should govern my study. They should also monitor whether I am doing everything right or not. And not only they should monitor, they should also provide me adequate infrastructure, manpower, funds, and training to conduct the study in a smooth and good manner. And then principle of transparency and accountability. So what is it states is, see, you initially initiated the study with some idea, okay, but at the end of the study result was not as you expected, okay. So it went on some other direction, or the study results were very much disaster, or it was a negative. So what you should do is, whatever the result you get, okay, you should publish the same results. You should not manipulate the results. That's again important point what they say, and you should be accountable for it. Okay, there should not be any conflict of interest in the results. Total responsibility means the team, whoever is involved in the research, okay, if something happens, okay, during the research, okay, or something, a good or bad thing, whatever may be, it should be a team accountability. You should not be keep on blaming that this is because of this person or this is because of this person. It's not like that. It's an accountability of the team or all the stakeholders who are directly or not indirectly involved on it. And the last and most important principle is the principle of environmental protection. Okay, so what does it mean by principle of environmental protection and how it's related to medical research is, see, whenever we are going to perform any research, we should not, I previously said, we should not disturb the social harmony or the community relationship. Like the same, we should not disturb any environmental or our surroundings with the research. For example, to say, you should not just throw away the blood samples or the tissues or whatever medical waste, or you should not dump just like that anywhere in the ground. So it's like that, or you should not pollute any water bodies. So these are some of the examples. So whenever I am going to do a research, we should always think that I am not disturbing the environment also. To make it very simple, okay, the principle, okay, so while framing the title itself, I should decide whether this study should be necessary or not. Okay, if it's essential, there is no alternative option, then I can go ahead with the study after getting approval from the ethics committee. And always do risk versus benefit analysis. The benefit should be more, the risk should be no or only minimal risk. Okay, so that's the thing. After getting approval from the ethics committee, then you have to recruit the participants for your research, where it should be from the voluntariness only. You should not bribe the person or you should not do some favor. So that's the most important thing. After getting the consent only, you have to recruit the subjects for the study. And there should not be any discrimination among the participant. And while performing the research, there should not be any social problems or environmental problems. So while performing the research, okay, you should be taking care of the patient, while we are not going to harm any patient. If suppose there is a development of adverse drug reaction during the study, and that patient or the subject has to be compensated adequately. There is a separate compensation formula depending upon the degree of problem the patient occurred during the study. Based upon that, we have to compensate the subjects adequately. So after completing the study, the data should be kept confidential. If some requirement is there, it should be transparent and it should be available for all the persons during the audit or inspection. And you should not manipulate any results. If there is any negative result, you have to publish it as like that. So to conclude, we have to go with the 4 principles of bioethics, that is autonomy, beneficial, non-malvision, and justice. And then additional point is confidentiality and transparency. So the most important thing what we have to remember is we have to always get an informed consent from the patient, okay? And then we should always do good things only. We should not harm the patients. Always there should be a fair subject selection, and the data should be protected, and the results should be always published as we receive. So to conclude my topic with the quote by the Potter Stewart, ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. I will repeat it again. Ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. So thank you all. Do you have any questions? Please let me know.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session, sir. If you have any questions, you can raise your hands or turn on your mic, or you can use the chat box. Actually, I guess you have explained that much detail in our sessions. It was that much very clear, and it gave us a clear knowledge and clear idea, like how to do a perfect ethically follow those research, how to do the like not only in the part of IEC, even though after we complete our research and while publishing, we have to follow those ethical standards. So that's all the things that I infer today, sir. And thank you so much for this amazing sessions, sir. And over to my teammate Suhanya. Suhanya, over to you for a vote of thanks, sir.
Good evening to everyone. On behalf of the organizing team of AARAICHI 2025, I feel privileged to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all who have made today's program a grand success. First of all, I sincerely thank our speaker, Dr. Sheshadri sir, for gracing the occasion with valuable time and inspiring words. I extend my deep gratitude to the IMA-MSN Tamil Nadu and respected state leaders whose constant guidance and support have been the backbone of this project. Their vision in promoting platforms like this has enabled us to nurture critical thinking, research skills, and collaborative learning. I also express my appreciation to the participant and audience who joined us virtually and made this program meaningful with your presence and interactions. Last but not least, a great appreciation to our technical team, the unsung heroes, who ensured a shameless online experience.